I'm not gonna lie. How much stuff you have in your shop makes me itch a little bit.
Huh?
How much stuff you have in your shop makes me itch a little bit. Just a little. Like, just a little bit.
That's how the intro is starting. What? What do you mean it makes you itch a little bit?
I'm just saying, it looks like there's a lot of stuff in a limited space.
There is.
I am the type of person that hates clutter, and I'm not saying your shop's clutter.
Okay, Vic.
I'm just saying. I have a lot of stuff in my shop too. It's just I have a larger space to spread it out so it doesn't appear to be cluttered.
Yes, you probably have a lot of room to hide the clutter.
I do.
I do not.
And you don't open cabinets in my shop.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, so yeah, I have everything fairly well organized in this shop. It is like, ask me where something is, I'll be able to find it pretty quick, right? I don't have room for a lot of machines, and I don't have room for cabinets and things like that. And the real problem that I have is, I know it sounds stupid. I'm in a building with 4 walls. I don't have any wall space.
Yeah. No,
because I have a short wall over here, and then over here there's doors that I do need to be, like this morning, it was nice and cool, so I opened up the big doors. And I don't have wall space to hang stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you purpose built your shop just to be a shop, didn't you?
Well, just to be a photo shop. So, yeah.
But do you find it difficult to work in a building like that? Because I know
it's terribly difficult. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be annoying. Because at the fine woodworking shop, we have like way too much room around all of the equipment, so that we can
get cameras around and get lights around.
Yeah.
And, like, to be completely honest, like, I'm razzing you a little bit, but like, if I just was working in my shop, it would look exactly like yours because it's an actual functional shop. Like, whereas I have wall space and floor space that just can't be used because it has to stay clean for photos. And so
the sacrifices you make for popular woodworking. Okay.
I know, right? I'm what they call a martyr.
All right, so right off the bat, welcome to Shop Talk Live, episode number 344. I don't think I've ever done this 2 minutes into an episode, but I have declared that this is going to be the intro. This is going to be the intro. Can't stop me. I am here with Logan Whittmer of Popular Woodworking, editor-in-chief, and also TV's Logan Whittmer from the Woodsmith Shop Show. It's not Woodsmith Shop Show. It's just Woodsmith Shop. Yeah. Okay. But we decided to come on here and talk about a couple of things that Fine Woodworking and Popular Woodworking and Woodsmith are working on together. First off, we have Woodworking in America coming up. You are currently sending off things for Phil to update on the website because he's been annoying us both.
Yep. He's been pecking.
I mean, we love you, Phil, but yeah.
When you're not here, you get talked about.
Yeah. Do you know what you're presenting?
I think I'm gonna do sawmilling. I think I have to.
I was gonna ask.
Like, I mean, that's what I do. That's what I love. Like,
but it's also just like really stinking cool. Are you gonna have a mill out there again?
Yeah, I'll have my sawmill out there. Yeah.
Last year you had the mill out there, and there was like a whole little area for people to just sit, and like you were just like, milling
just
up logs.
I was just living my best life.
You had some beautiful walnut, didn't you?
I had a really nice walnut, and then I had a really nice cherry. Both of which I just stacked in the lumber rack that was cut, October last year is when we did that. And I just measured it, and it's at 12%, perfectly air dried. Yeah, sat it inside the storage area of the shop, and it dried pretty quickly. So I think this year I might try to do some quarter sawing on the sawmill. So maybe that'll be the demo I do there is like, hey, let's get a couple really nice oaks and do some quarter sawing.
Oh.
Or for all those mid-century sociopaths, like let's do some quarter sawn walnut and stuff, like some really straight grain walnut.
Huh.
Yeah, so it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, because that's kind of a whole different bag. You're not going for
It is,
efficiency.
yeah.
You're just going for
Beauty.
the grain. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other day, though, you posted on Pop's Instagram a piece of cherry that made me swoon.
I know. Made your heart throb, didn't
Did
it?
you know? So for the listeners, you can check it out on Instagram. Might have heard of it. But it was like a perfect piece of curly cherry.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it had figure, it had straight, it had all of the parts that you need to make a piece of furniture out of.
Mhm.
Did you know going into it? Or
No. I had an inkling, like you can kind of see once you've cut enough logs, you can kind of see what's under there before you start cutting it.
Okay.
You never really know.
Okay.
But I'm like that log looks a little lumpy, like, and I'm thinking there might be something in there.
Okay.
And there was.
All right.
So I did, to be fair though, I did turn around and quarter saw that entire log as well. just because I've been pretty diligent about trying to cut the most dimensionally stable lumber
Okay.
out of whatever I'm milling. If you're just plain sawing, you end up with a lot of like flat and plain sawn stuff. You get some quarter sawn mixed in there, but the wider boards like those were warping a little bit. Hold on, I'm gonna pause while I yell at my animals. You know, I'm wrestling. Go lay down. Lay down. But so like that, like I don't really want to cut a 24-inch cherry into 24-inch wide boards.
Okay.
Like you can only do so many blanket chests, right?
Yes. Yes.
So like cutting the pith out of the center gives you fairly stable 10-inch wide boards that are pretty much all quarter sawn. So just beautiful tabletop material. So
good. Yeah. So you're yeah, because I think everyone thinks that you just slice, like a piece of bread or something, slice down it, and yeah, you're gonna wind up with a few good boards, but you're probably gonna wind up with a lot of potato chips out of that too, right?
Yeah, you do. And I mean, like that's cool if that's what you're doing to, sell live edge and stuff. And that's a fast and efficient way to cut.
Yeah.
But I don't ever live edge stuff, so it's always like let's get the best stuff out of this that we can.
Let's get parts. Let's get parts. Yeah,
100%. So so that's what I'll be doing. I think at WIA. I also thought about maybe, I don't know that we can do it outside, but maybe I break up the demos. So I'll have two demos over the weekend. Maybe I'll do one outside, and then maybe I'll do one on milling lumber in your shop. So we'll step inside with a big bandsaw and talk about how, hey, you could take smaller pieces and you can break those down inside your shop to your own lumber. Like you don't need a big bandsaw. If you want one, I will write you a doctor's note to get one. But you can do it with your regular bandsaw. So maybe I'll do that too, which I think would be kind of a fun one.
But Logan said I could.
Honey, I have a doctor's note.
I don't think this guy's a real doctor. All right, so cool. That's so you are you're also who else is going to be there? Shay Alexander's going to be there.
Yep. So Shay Alexander. Yep. Vic Teslin. Dave Richards will be there.
Yeah. That's going to be Dave, like the SketchUp guru. Like,
for sure.
Do you want to hear something funny? If you ever get on a call with Dave, ask him to show you what he's working on now, and like he'll be like, "Oh, I'm modeling a steam engine in SketchUp," and you're like, "Of course you are."
Yeah.
Or like he just sits there and like tries to figure out the most complex thing that he can model, and it's perfection, of course.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
But Mark Harrell.
Mark will be there as well. Yeah, so Mark will come down, which was cool. We just just spent some time filming a sharpening course with Mark.
Yeah.
And he's a character. He knows his stuff.
Oh, God.
And don't get him on saw sharpening because you better have the afternoon. And you better have a couple of saws that he can grab and sharpen while you guys are talking.
Well, but he's done thousands of saws.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And,
yeah.
But he's still seemingly more enthusiastic about saw sharpening than anyone I've ever met who's like decades into a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and yeah, you would think that at that point of your career journey, you'd be on the tail end of it. No, he's not. He's not.
Like one of these days, I want to sit down and take Mark out for beer and be like, just tell me everything you know about Henry Diston.
You better have an Uber ready to go home.
yeah, totally. That is an Uber night. Yeah. Cause like you get that guy talking about Henry Diston.
Yeah.
And like, it's wild. So, all right. So yeah, segue into promo, double promo for you. WIA. Now head on over to popularwoodworking.com/learn.
Yep.
And that's going to get you to Mark Harrell's saw sharpening course. And I've watched it a couple times and I have a Diston like thumb hole D whatever that has been sitting here waiting to get sent off to Mark or Matt Cianci and I think I'm going to do it. I just decided like a little bit before we started, I thought, wait, that Diston's right there. I was like, I think I can do this. And if I mess it up, handsaw, yeah, I only have one.
Okay. All right.
But, I mean, I've got back saws, you know, I've got my Bad Axe Carcass saw, and I've got a Veritas dovetail saw, and a couple of Japanese saws. But handsaw, I'll be honest with you, right here, over there, you can see my Lowe's junkie saw right there.
Yep.
And that's my breakdown lumber saw. And every time I use it to break down lumber, I think I need to get this Diston worked.
I feel like you just took 2 years off of Mark's life by saying that. Like, sorry, Mark.
Man, listen, it works, okay? It works, and it was cheap, and I've gone through two of them because I used one to go through a plaster wall in Nashville one time and wore it down. But
yeah. But no, that was cool. So we filmed that. Oh man. Probably 4 months ago with Mark. And he was here for 2 days in our studio filming. And, you know, if anybody doesn't know, Mark was the gentleman that founded Bad Axe.
Yeah.
He has since passed that off to his employees. And now he is running Saw Sharp, which is his own little kind of hands-on class setting. But yeah, I mean, guy's made... I don't remember what he said, 20,000 saws. He's restored thousands of them.
Always be assessing. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Always be assessing.
Oh, man.
If you take this course, you will be on the inside of the Always Be Assessing Club now, because Mark is always assessing.
He's always assessing. Take a stroke and then assess.
Yes. All right. Well,
I mean, I was gonna say, but like, I feel like even if you don't have any desire to sharpen your own hand saws, it's still a valuable course to have. Like, especially if you're the type of person that likes to grab vintage saws. He showed restoring and fixing of vintage saws that I would have never even touched.
Well, I mean, to circle back to 30 seconds ago, assessing a vintage saw, like when you're at a flea market and what you're going to look at, and if you are the type who's going to send it off to Mark to fix, or Matt Cianci or whoever, like what to look for, that was way more than I would have never thought about. Like, he's bending the saw and looking for that. And I was like, what? Yeah, and like at first I thought he was kind of joking with it. It's wild. It's wild.
Yep. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Dude knows saws.
He knows saws.
Yeah. So come to Woodworking in America after you have watched his course. Come to Woodworking in America and buy Mark a beer and ask him about Henry Diston and give me a heads up before you do that, because I want to be there.
And we'll schedule an Uber for you.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Logan, and talking about that stuff. And it's been fun working with you on Woodworking in America and saw sharpening and all that stuff. So let's I guess we'll start the rest of the episode with Amanda, Owen, and Anissa.
Hi.
Hi. So this is a special episode. We are introducing a new staff member, the podcast. You've been on the podcast before as a guest, but you officially, did we talk about this last time? Because we recorded this before. About your official title or whatever.
The official title is assistant editor.
Assistant editor.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we're super happy to have you on. It's like a perfect fit. And we did record this episode a couple of weeks ago, and you two had just finished a shoot in Philadelphia. But I lost the SD card somewhere. So
I was just going to say we have a technical glitch. You didn't have to fall on that sword.
Right. But we get to do this again, and we got some questions this time, so that'll be good too. But yeah, Owen, do you want to talk a little bit about your background and just how you got here?
Sure. Yeah. How did I get here? That's a good question. I have kept using the analogy that I feel like I was pulled out of the bleachers during a Mets game to play on the field. So how did I get here? I started woodworking out of high school, pretty much. Got into historic preservation work in Albany, where I live, New York. A lot of brownstones, a lot of cool old work. I actually wanted to be a plasterer when I started. I went to Europe and saw a bunch of plasterers restoring a bunch of old churches and cathedrals, and I was just like, wow, that seems like a cool life to lead. It's not an easy one. I found out is I just cleaned up plaster dust from the guys actually doing the plaster for a few years, but worked my way into woodworking. Worked in a shop for the same guys, doing preservation millwork stuff. A lot of like recreation of old windows, like a lot of double hungs with window weights, and those rot eventually. So just making a new sash for that, or making a piece of crown molding that was on a cornice of a building that rotted, just kind of working my way in there. And then kind of worked for a few professional shops all over the place. I kind of have a weird background. I worked for an interior millwork company, which was doing like a lot of stairs and railings and windows and cabinet installations, and then moved into a like factory, basically. I would call it like NASA of woodworking, where we made European tilt-turn windows and lift slide doors and all these crazy things out of imported woods, teak and mahogany, mostly Iroko a little bit. And then got in with Rowan, where I've been the last 5 years until now, doing some more interior millwork, cabinetry. It's not just cabinetry; it's everything inside the house, basically, but with a focus on cabinet making. So, and then I somehow got accepted into the staff here, which I'm extremely excited about. So, I hope my odd background kind of helps me become a good editor, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, and then Rowan Woodwork is, you talked about it being all, everything interior, but it's pretty high design.
Yes.
And you had done an article, you and Suzanne Walton had done an article on sheet goods that you use in a cabinet shop, and the images of the work that you guys produce there is just incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff even was before me. Susan's been doing it. Rowan, I think, has been 10 years. I want to say maybe coming up on 11. So it's like I was just a little bit in there, and I'm lucky that I got to kind of jump in and make some cool stuff. But yeah, that article was super fun to write, and talk about the stuff that we use. I think a lot of people are scared of sheet goods when they see it in like a home center, and they're like, "Ooh, I don't want to put that as a cabinet door. It looks like a big banana or something like that." And there's so many different kinds, and it's something I definitely
that was the thing that was super cool, because you guys just use so many different types of sheet goods in really high-end cabinetry, stuff that I didn't even know existed, or stuff that I knew existed like MDF, but you would use it in like really different ways than I was expecting, just because it's super flat. But anyway, that's a really cool article that people should check out.
Yeah, we'll add it to the show notes.
And my editor for that was Anissa. So she
So that's cool that you kind of got to be on that end of the editorial process, and now you're on the other. I had a similar experience too, and it's cool getting to see like experience both sides of it, because you're like, now I understand what an author is like feeling when the shoot's happening and preparing and all of that, and now you get to do the other end of it. So yeah, have you done any shoots since we last met up, or is just the shoot
just
with
Eric
Curtis?
Yeah.
Okay. And
that was his second day, right?
Day 2.
Day 2.
Drove down to Philly.
Yeah.
And watched Eric build a beautiful chessboard. And
we met up last week. And did you go through like the thumbnail process too?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're like, you're in the not final stages, but next steps of editing.
Anissa's doing most of it. But
yeah. So it's cool. Yeah. So yeah, we had talked about the shoot a little bit. What were your feelings on, like, I know I had no like photography experience when I started, and it's just it's a lot to learn.
Yeah, it is a lot to learn. It was awesome to be able to watch Anissa just kind of move through it and see how she kind of navigated working, lighting, shooting, and asking Eric to do something that, is like just better for the shot, because as woodworkers, inherently, you're not thinking about where the camera is most of the time, even though he is a famous YouTube person who doesn't know where the camera is most of the time. But it was really cool to see, like, oh, this is neat. It's kind of like working on a movie set or something. It just is always moving around. And I don't know if it was just me or just Eric, but how fast it came together and how like smoothly it went. I was definitely like, oh, this is going really well. Yeah, I don't know if always normal.
It's not always like that.
Right. I was going to say, like, one of my first shoots was with Eric, and it went so fast that I was like, is this a bad thing? Like, I'd feel like did I get every shot and I needed and stuff? Because he works really fast.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how intuitive he was with the movements and stuff, but also that he works so fast is really great, and it makes the photo shoot go faster and smoothly. But there were a couple things that I was like, hold on a second, wait, you got to stop. I want to catch that. So, but he's definitely a great author to work with, and the scale of the project wasn't this massive thing. So that kind of condenses shots and time a little bit too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a couple stories from both of you guys about good or bad editorials, that like shoots that, maybe didn't work out as planned, or something that came together like insanely well.
Well, that one came, there's never anything that's really horrendous. Once in a while there will be a shot that we really need that I didn't get, or that one of us didn't get, and we either have to reproduce it in our shop or go back out to the author's shop. But it's rare that happens, I think. But that shoot went as smoothly as any shoot can go. It was a really good example of what to expect from an author and how to just get through a shoot easily. So,
yeah, I found like my most challenging shoot was a marquetry one, because it was more that it had to do with like it being an abstract piece and layers, and like how do I take their like photos to where you can actually understand what's happening as far as like pieces being put on top of each other, which was Chelsea Van Voris's abstract marquetry panel. So there were a couple shots that I had to actually like have Larissa go back and stage. So I had Chelsea ship me the veneer, and then we staged it. But it's to me, that's kind of amazing that you can go back and we can get some shots later, or retakes or whatever.
Never would have known. Never would have known. You just shared a secret.
I'm just telling on myself today. But
yeah.
It didn't surprise me, but the fact that they're like multi-day shoots, and you don't think, or you don't really always think about something simple as like Eric wore the same clothes the next day. And Anissa, you did tell me a really funny story about an author that cut his hair mid-shoot that really just had me.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I meant to go back and look at that. That would be Josh Finn.
I wasn't going to call him out, but
because I had to go and look at it. We should put this one on the show notes too, if it's super apparent. It was his homosote beam bench, kind of. Not kind of. It's the way it's his workbench, and he uses these two homosote torsion box beams. And the article was how he uses those beams. And we were shooting, I remember it being super hot, and it was mid-shoot, but Josh has like thick, wavy hair. And when I showed up to shoot the first day, it was pretty long and, a little out there, and think Ben hair.
Right.
And so that's how he was for the first day of the shoot. And he's pretty local, so I was able to drive to his shop, and so the shooting days weren't consecutive. So I went back a week later, and he had pretty much buzzed his hair. Like, wait, what are you doing? You can't do that. But there's nothing to have been done about it. So I meant to, after we were talking about that, I meant to go and look up to see if we had both hairstyles in the article, or if it was just hands-on in a lot of the photos, so that you couldn't tell that, he cut his hair.
Pretty funny.
So
that's pretty funny. It's super exciting having you on the team, and I'm like really looking forward to working with you. And you already came up with a new podcast segment, or a new name for a podcast segment. I can't remember the acronym now, so you'll have to explain it.
I just shortened the all-time favorite tool of all time for this week to, I'd have to like look at it.
Yeah. All-time favorite tool of this. I can't even say the regular thing.
I sent it to you guys. ATFTOA at TFTW. And I said it's on my STL bucket list, which is also Shop Talk Live. I'm a sucker for an acronym,
Love it. So yeah, we should talk about that. And that, whatever you just said.
I do have a tool I was thinking of. That's kind of why I did it. I'll show it too. It's actually, my brother made me a draw knife.
Super cool.
My brother's also in construction and is just one of those like hobbyist people, and didn't say anything to him. And one day he just gave me a draw knife. It's super duper sharp. It looks rough, but I used it a couple times. It's great. And I'm planning on doing the Jenny Alexander chair from a tree. And it was like it was almost like perfect. I was like, oh, I actually need like a cool draw knife because I have some old like dusty one I didn't really feel like tuning up, but there it was, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome. So shout out to my brother Colin for making a really, really cool draw knife.
That's awesome. Man,
Yeah, it's super
starting
cool.
off strong. Anissa, do you have anything?
I'm going to go segment potpourri and switch over to a smooth move because I have so many of those. So I think the last time, or one of the more recent times that I was on the podcast, I was talking about Chris Schwarz's coffer that we did a few issues ago, and I was having a lot of fun carving with the little vinyl cutting tool that he uses for the carving on the coffer. And I was just doing little panels and trying things out. And I was mostly using it freehand and a little bit in the compass. But when I did the shoot with Ben for doing the coffer with machines instead of hand tools, I was going to get a finished photo for Ben of the coffer. And when I went to actually carve it, I think this may have even been in the article where Chris had said, just make sure that you really have the tool tightened in the compass. Or no, that you really have the arms of the compass tightened really well. And I did not do that. So I basically made this coffer. I painted it. I started to carve it. It was going really well. And then I completely messed up the carving because I didn't have the compass arms tightened well enough. So I've gone back and filled it, but I haven't recarved it yet. So it'll be interesting to see how it works with the filler that I used and against the wood. So nice. We'll see how that goes.
What did you use for filler?
I got a store-bought super hard filler because it's going to get painted. Mm-hmm. I was debating between that and kind of making my own with glue and dust. But I'm going to try this first. I can't remember the brand. I can find it out at some point because it's out there. But I am pretty curious to see how it's going to work carving through that and the wood, and if it chips out or anything like that. I can report back.
Nice. Man, I feel
how about
like
you?
I don't know that I have anything other than I've just been working on shop organization because you guys saw my corner of the shop last time. It's been kind of preventing me from woodworking is lack of organization. So I bought myself a locker recently. I don't know if that counts as a tool, but it feels like it's a good investment to finally just start buying things to put things in.
Yeah. Storage.
Yeah, it's just shop storage. Yeah, I don't have anything exciting this week. I kept trying to think, and I'm like, I haven't really been in there because it's been intimidating just having to move everything off my bench to get going again. So,
yeah.
Yep. I know that feeling.
Yeah, me too. But shop storage is exciting.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's so
clears
satisfying
my
to clean up.
mind. Yeah.
For 37 years, Quick Screws has been the trusted choice for professional and hobbyist woodworkers. Cabinet makers and furniture builders know that the right screw makes all the difference, which is why Quick Screws designs fasteners for specific woods and applications. The legendary Quick Screws pocket hole screw delivers secure, reliable joints with fine threads for hardwoods and coarse threads for general use, and high-low threads for softwoods and melamine. Want a screw that stops flush and eliminates chipping? Funnelhead does exactly that, making it a top choice for melamine and a great fit for all woods. From drawer fronts to installation and conformat screws, even exterior rated fasteners, Quick Screws are built for speed, precision, and reliability. Find the perfect screw for your shop at your local distributor or at quickscrews.com.
How do you guys feel about doing some questions? We got a couple of questions from the Discord for Owen.
I love the Discord. Shout out the Discord.
This first one's from Bridget. She says, do you feel that working in a cabinet shop feeds the woodworking bug? Or does it wear you out sometimes and make it difficult to work on personal stuff or study the craft outside of work hours? And do you have any advice or insight for people who love woodworking so much that they want to make it their full-time gig? Specifically, full-time jobs working in a larger shop as opposed to becoming a fully independent designer or furniture maker.
Yes, I have lots of thoughts on this. It's such a fantastic question, and Bridget is a very insightful person. So this is an easy one to answer because I am transitioning out of the shop. And it does feed the woodworking bug to an extent. There is a point in, I think, everything where, you hit a wall and you get a little bit like, oh my gosh, if I have to do another, melamine box for another week, I'm just going to lose it kind of thing. But then there's the days where you're like figuring out a setup and you're kind of like setting up a machine to do something that it's never done. And when it works perfect, it's like, oh my God, that's the woodworking bug for me, at least. In a big shop, you're probably not going to be romanticizing it too much and, dusting off your hand plane and taking a nice shaving. It just doesn't work that way. But you can do it in your free time. I used to show up to work ahead of time, and I think this will actually lean into some of the other ones too, but I used to cut a dovetail before work every day. And on Fridays after work, I'd just take out the plane and take a couple shavings. So it's a way, it's a job, but it's a job doing what you're interested in. So it's kind of a win either way. It can get draining a little bit. I have a lot of half-done projects that I would start and just not get around to, because especially I would do my side projects in the shop I was working at. So I'd look at something that I was working on and be like, I really should just fix that before I do anything for my, or I could clean this corner, the normal shop distraction stuff, but even a little more. Advice for people who would want to work into a larger shop, like move into a large shop. I would say before going off on your own, 100 times out of 100, go work at a production shop. You're going to learn a lot about process, and you're going to skip a lot of steps that would cost you a lot of money up front. That being said, don't go work there for 6 months and have this company spend a bunch of time and money on you and then just be like, okay, I learned enough, bye. I would at least invest 2 years if, that's minimum to get out of like an apprenticeship style job. So, but if you have the time, like if you have the 2 years, do the 2 years and work and see how it operates, because you're going to learn a lot. And you're going to, meet a lot of people who are going to have a lot of good advice too, and a lot of good techniques. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I have a question that kind of connected to that. So now, like, you've been in all these production shops doing all these different things. Now you're just a civilian woodworker. Mm-hmm. What machines are you going to miss most from Rowan?
Oh, that's a good question. The Altendorf F45 for sure. As a big sliding table saw. Suze and I took like months picking out all the like accessories we wanted to add on to it, or like, now the saws have like these automations. So the fence moves, the blade lifts and tilts all by pushing buttons. Mm-hmm. But then like where you want to micro adjust stuff, we customized it. So it was like, we can hand move all the like adjustable non-digital stops. Yeah, that's a beautiful saw. That's just, and it's 3,200 mil, so it's like 3.2 meters, so it's like 10 feet on the dot. Basically, it's such a good saw.
Yeah, I guess I was like going to ask a similar question to you too. What is your shop situation now? Like,
it's a little bit in limbo. I work at a shared shop, like a community shop that's in Saratoga called, I'll shout them out, Saratoga Joinery. They're great. The shop is meticulously maintained, and it has like a machine room and a bench room, and it's like a really great place to get any of that done. And then I just have like a small bench space in a friend's shop close by, so I don't have to drive all the way up to Saratoga. But yeah, so it's like I can just cut a couple ducktails or do whatever. The plan is to buy a house eventually and have a space there, but you know how that goes.
Right. The dream. But it's nice you have something close by. I find like my shop isn't too far away, but it's enough of not having a car. It's enough of a time thing where I have to like do it right. But just having like a bench space to that you can pop in when you need to just do something feels like it's really helpful. But not nice. That's super helpful. And yeah, this is a perfect question for you since you've done the full-time thing for so long.
Yeah. I also like I'm intrigued by the Frank Strasser, like Albert Klein, like cutting marquetry just at your kitchen table kind of thing. Like maybe that's what I do now. It's just work right here.
Right. Actually, the first time I met Frank was at a Texas woodworking show in Kerrville, Texas. And, you know, he's like asking me at the time I was at a maker space or whatever. And he was like asking me like, oh, what's keeping you from, you know, are you just getting started woodworking? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a maker space I can go to, but it's kind of far off. And he's like, in so many words, he was like, that's not an excuse. Like, I know woodworkers that work in their apartment, like in a closet. And I was like, yeah, you have a point. Like I can make it work somehow, you know?
I mean, like the stuff Barry's doing in his like room it's crazy. A carpeted shop. I was kind of like, seems kind of nice actually.
Like having a carpeted bathroom. No. Actually, it's better than having a carpeted bathroom.
I think so, yeah.
Well, if you drop a chisel, it's not the end of the world, you know.
That's true, yeah.
That's true. This next question you kind of answered, but this one's from Travis, and he says, learning improving craft takes both book learning and hands-on learning. Last month in the Discord channel, we did we've been doing a build challenge where it's a bi-monthly build challenge. And so this 2-part one actually involved Owen's, Woodworkers Book Club. So the first half of the bi-monthly challenge was to show off your 3 favorite, pieces of woodworking material. So that's what he's talking about here. But he's curious what you do for practice. Like, do you just make whole pieces that are essentially practice for you, or are you making like a production run of boxes? How do you get reps in? So you kind of answered this, but I'm interested.
A little bit. There's more to it. Interested on your guys' take first, though. I feel like I'm talking a lot.
That's why we have you here.
Right? I like to kind of design pieces or stuff I make around a practice I want to implement. I find that's easier for me. So, you know, if I like making a squatty potty because I want to do double tenons on something, it's like, okay, yeah, I can. Sometimes I even design around a practice thing I want to do. What about you, Anissa?
Logging time and reps it's not something that my life kind of gives me a lot of space to do right now. I try and draw when I can, if I can't get in the shop. When I'm in the shop, it's usually for something that I have to fix on my house. So I'm running in and making a huge mess out of the shop. So if I'm really, really trying to do something just to kind of, I'm just like chip carving or doing just like little panels. started doing these like little feather sticks just to kind of, with my kids, just something that we, you're kind of carving down a stick and kind of making it fray out. Just little stuff like that. So bigger projects, even like bigger projects, like I'm just not putting the reps in. It's frustrating. It's just my setup right now doesn't allow for, logging the miles in the shop. So I do little things like that aren't really building functional pieces of any kind, even like little boxes, but just get me doing something with my hands or thinking in terms of furniture by drawing it.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, drawing, I like forget how helpful that is, and just, thinking about processes, like getting in that mindset. I was designing a dining chair this weekend with a friend. We're gonna like co-build it, and it's a whole different mindset you get into when you're drawing. You're like, oh, how does this come together? And then you're almost doing the task mentally already. Mm-hmm. And I find even that to be super helpful, and it's worth like talking about. Yeah. How about you, Owen? Well, the dovetails, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was more of like a mental practice, like get yourself ready, because, we never hand cut dovetails anywhere. That's just right. Not, I mean, it's practical in some cases, but, we're probably 500 drawers a year or something like that. So there's no way there's time to do that. Mm-hmm. But I do always, like if there's something difficult, like a corner I haven't figured out or something like that, I do always make a test corner. And it's kind of cool because I try to hold on to them. So like, especially if you go to Connecticut Valley, like there's corners of tables and chairs and all these things all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, pretty similar, just not as interesting. It's like, oh, this offset works like this. Okay, great. This is my machine set up. Now I'm good to go. It's kind of more figuring out the process. Practicing though, I don't know if I practice or do. I guess it was just like I just did it because it was what I had to do. Now thinking about it, it's like, oh, it would be nice to like, turn a bowl and just burn it or something like that, just to keep the muscles going. It is a good question. I do find that like this is a good take because it's like the book learning, the hands-on learning, and the watching and all that is like 30% of it, and it is doing it that is going to teach you everything. So, I always do a test, I guess is what I'd say. It's like lay out your dovetails and cut them first before you do it on your piece of mahogany.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's good. This last question's pretty long, but I hope I explain it right. This is also from Travis, but he's asking, when a tool isn't doing what you want it to, how do you differentiate between the blade is dull, tool is properly set up, my technique with the tool is poor, or I'm asking the tool to do more than it can reasonably do? An example is, I think I have my bandsaw set up pretty well. I can use it to cut along lines to make things like templates from 1/2-inch MDF or similar, and I have successfully made several bandsaw boxes. But whenever I try resawing, like to make book matches, I always run into issues and have to plan on lots of post-cut milling. I want to try making shops on veneers, but given how much I lose in the process, I don't think I'll have much success. The main difference I see between success and failure is the height of the cut, and the height of the cut. The patterns are about 1/2-inch. Boxes were like 2 or 3 inches, but resawing for a book match is more like 6 to 8 inches. Maybe at 6 to 8 of hardwood, I'm asking too much of my bandsaw, and maybe the tolerance for being slightly off in setup is lower for the wider cut. And so I don't see the imperfect setup in those cases. And you asked him what kind of bandsaw he has, right? Because that'll give some more context. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it's a 14-inch, oh gosh, I had it right here. 14-inch jet. He had the model number, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to go? I don't have the answer, but somebody I know has the answer. Or I don't even know him, but somebody's book that I read the other day because of my book club has the answer.
Yeah, what is the official?
If I could quote Mr. Gary Rogowski, lousy bandsaw is what most folks buy first and are mystified hearing that from me that my bandsaw is the most important machine in my shop for a furniture maker. They're little 14-inch saws. No dig. This is Gary saying this, not me. Their little 14-inch saws won't cut straight. The cuts wander off the line and belly around the wood if pushed too hard. A bad saw will drive you to misery. He also has a little side text here that says, do you want to cut fast or do you want to cut straight? You can't do both. So I've never used a 14-inch bandsaw. That sounds a little
little elitist.
a little elitist, but just in a professional shop, I don't see somebody using a 14-inch bandsaw. But I know other people who can resaw on their 14-inch bandsaw, so it's just about how particular you want to get. But I do think resawing usually is 18 or above, I would say, inch-wise on your saw.
Yeah, to get a good, yeah.
But it's
There's
a huge
options.
investment. It's like,
Yeah. One thing I've done with resawing is like if I resaw like shops on veneer, for example, and I see there's like a lot of tension in the board and they're just cupping or a book match, whatever, is you can split that board in half. Like if you have the 6 to 8, cut it to 3 inches wide and then resaw those pieces and you seam the veneer and you really can't see it.
that's
There's
great.
workarounds for that, but if you're just gonna stick with the 14-inch, that would be my suggestion for trying to get more difficult resawn stuff done. I don't know. What do you think, Anissa?
Well, before I forget, what did you say Gary's quote was about? Do you want to cut accurately or cut fast?
Cut fast or cut straight. You can't do both.
Cut fast or cut straight. Yeah. I like that a lot. I remember at a shoot, one of my early shoots with Nancy Hiller, she was cutting a shape on something and it wasn't necessarily straight. But I remember thinking like she was cutting the shape on the bandsaw and she was going so slow. And I remember standing there thinking like, is she going this slow for my benefit? Because it is really slow. And, you know, I got the photos while she was doing it and it was perfect. It was a little bit of an intricate shape. I wish I could remember what it was. I remember the moment, but not specifically what article it was. It was perfect. The cut that she made and the shape was right on the line. And then I would see people doing that after, going that slow. I think Ron Kuhn and Matt Giassi also super slow when they were cutting on a big bandsaw. A lot of shapes when I did some articles with them and Hank Gilpin. But the resawing thing, I mean, whatever bandsaw you have, we have so many good articles on how to tune it up and how to, you're going to, you know, nobody's going to go out and ditch their bandsaw because, you know, what we're saying here, like I don't have a huge bandsaw and it's there to stay. I'm not replacing it anytime soon. So, I'm the worst person about keeping my machines tuned up and where they should be, but I do have a Michael Fortune article printed out and right by my bandsaw so that on the rare occasions that I do go and do that, I have that cheat sheet right there. So I'm not forgetting anything because I just don't do it enough that it's second nature. That's kind of skirting around the issue.
That's a good idea. I like the cheat sheet idea because oftentimes I'm like, what? I mean, you move it enough, but not all the time. It's like, oh, it would be nice to have that.
Yeah. I feel like I need little printouts on a lot of machines that are like ready to go, you know?
Yeah.
It's helpful to have that.
Yeah. this is a little bit of a pathetic state of affairs, but it's Travis's question about like, how do you know if something's not sharp or this or that? It's again, I'm always making the excuse that I don't have enough time to really do anything, but it's super true. I mean, and if I'm doing something and the tool or the machine that I'm using isn't working properly, oftentimes rather than stopping to take the time to do that, because I don't have the time, my time is so limited that I'll continue what I'm doing and then I'll find a workaround to fix whatever that's happening. A quick example that I can think of is my planer. I need to turn all those cutter heads. I just don't have the time to sit there and do that. But I get like a little raised, one of those cutter heads has a chip in it. And so I'll get a raised line and I just keep using the planer like that. Everything else is fine. And then I just knock off that line with a scraper or a plane, when it shows up in the work, that kind of thing. It's not the right way to do it, but it's the way I'm kind of dealing with stuff like that in my shop right now. So like I make a workaround for whatever's not tuned up or whatever's not sharp. So that's kind of a woodworking confession, I guess.
Woodworking Confessions, the new podcast.
Right.
That's our new segment.
Yeah.
The knowing when something's either properly set up or cutting wrong or like dull, was always because we had a lot of people come through and I would train all the apprentices in the shop and it'd be like, if you think it's dull, it's dull. If you think something's wrong, it's wrong. You have the instinct of like, it should all be so easy. It should be the easiest thing. It shouldn't be loud. It should just be easy. And when it's not, there's something wrong. Now, how do you go about fixing that? Because he's going through and asking this question of like, is it the blade? Is it this? Is it that? What order do you do that in? 100% depends on the machine, I think. But we could go super into depth with that. But I would just say, unless it's flipping the knives on your segmented head joiner or anything like that, I would start with, changing the blade and then just checking if everything's square and tight and then go from there. But, I've been inside CNC machines for hours trying to figure something out. And it's like, I didn't even look to see if the cutter was dull. And the cutter's dull, and now it's putting too much pressure on the head. And now it's giving me an error because it's saying something about the feed rate isn't moving the way it should. It's like, I should have just checked the cutter. But
yeah, it's the fastest thing to eliminate. Like the easiest variable to eliminate is checking for dull blade. I like that answer. That's I've been there too, where I'm like Anissa's talking about, where I'm just like, I'm just gonna get through this, or like do whatever I have to do to get through this. But I always appreciate when I do have the time to stop and like get it right, nail it. Just sometimes that stuff compounds, but I understand too. It's like it's hard to answer this question because it's like so
such
many
a scale.
Variables. Yeah.
Well, and Anissa, I don't think you're doing anything wrong because you should always hit your piece that's coming out of the planer with something. It's like, I'm breaking down a teeny little. Who cares? You're gonna go over it again.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Mm-hmm. I do. I really do need to rotate those cutter heads.
Oh, it's the worst.
Not the cutter heads, but the cutters. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst afternoon of your life.
Yeah, it's like that's a big chunk of time, and that's not really something that I want to stop midway through. I don't want to like, I turned those, but I stopped here, and now I'm going to start where I left off 2 weeks later. Like that's something that I want to do all in one sitting. I don't want to leave that for couple weeks down the road or whenever.
Yep. Yeah, I used to do it like end of day. Like, I guess I'm stopping at 2 today and I'm just going to sit here and flip all these.
Yeah. It's the worst.
Especially on like a 20-inch wide It's like, oh my gosh, there's 3 spirals and you're just, okay, which one was I on?
Right. And that's one of those things where you're like, you have to focus. You don't want to rotate one the wrong way or not tighten it down.
Right. Or
you need full concentration.
getting all the pitch out of every little piece to make sure, because if it doesn't set right, then that knife's high. Now you get a hollow and you're just,
oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm not doing that. They're never getting turned. No, I'm just kidding.
Just buy a new planer to throw it at.
I wish I could do that.
I'll turn them. I'll turn them.
Yeah, I'd have to clean out my shop. You saw it last week or whenever that was.
It's not so bad. You make everything.
Oh no, it's bad. That was the whole fencing project. There's cedar planks all over the shop.
Oh, yes. Cedar. It's gross. Just kidding. It smells good in there probably.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, yeah, thank you. I think we went over time, but that's great. But yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this again.
Yeah, and you'll find the SD card. It'll be fun.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll probably find it today.
Yeah, probably. Let us know.
Post stills like a lost film strip.
Yeah, or like the Ansel Adams film containers that film. There's a drawer full of film, undeveloped film that they found in like one of his file cabinets. Kind of like that thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, maybe. I would like to shout out the book club really quick.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to join the book club, it's just thewoodworkersbookclub.com and fill out the thing and you'll get the mailing list. And it's basically that all across. But we just hang out on Discord and talk about each book each month.
What's the next book?
The next book is Build a Dutch Tool Chest with Megan Fitzpatrick.
Oh,
Nice.
Cool. Who's your co-host going to be?
I don't know yet. I'm hoping this could be a plea to Megan on airwaves. But
Right.
Is that how podcast travels on airwaves?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, it'd be nice. We're right in the middle of The Soul of a Tree, the George Nakashima book. And I'm just like, I love that book so much. I'm getting to reread a few books that I haven't visited in a while. And it's like, it's really nice. Nancy's was the first one. That was my favorite, I think. That's like one of my favorite books of all time. It's just so real about the life that comes along with working in woodworking.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. But yeah, read. Everybody read. It'll tell you about your bandsaw.
Right.
There's secrets everywhere.
Yes.
Well, that does it for this episode of Shop Talk Live. Don't forget, head on over to woodworkinginamerica.com for more information on Woodworking in America. And you can head on over to popularwoodworking.com/learn or findwoodworking.com/elearning if you want more information about Mark Harrell's saw sharpening class. It's a banger. You're going to enjoy it. All right. Thumbs up on YouTube, 5-star comment on iTunes, and thank you for sharing the love. Thank you for spreading the love as always. If you have questions for the show, please send them into shoptalk@findwoodworking.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening.